No, I'm saying Lauren introduced me to Puff.
Oh, got you.
I mean, I knew Puff, but it was more of a personal relationship after, we was at Cassie's birthday.
I was gonna do the deal. When Ross put the MMG thing on the table, I just had a concern with my team getting credit for breaking Nipsey Hussle. So I didn't necessarily want to take that from my thing. He didn't said he didn't done every combo we had. Every time I sent a verse, he executed it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a lot of respect for Rose. So I'd have done it off just GP, but I got a team I committed to ahead of time. That was the only reason. But outside of that, all the other deals, they lacked what the MMG offered, included because it was somebody that understood why Nipsey is valuable without a radio.
Nip had no ego. So, you know what I'm saying? Like Nip came to me and said, I want you to mentor me. I want to get into real estate. I want you to teach me all your, like your business secrets. You know what I'm saying? I was like, whenever you got questions, pull up. And then on his last album, people do not know this. Somebody tried to jerk me, but I fixed it. I actually am one of the executive producers of Nipsey Hussle's last album.
Victory Lap.
Yeah, Victory.
So it turns out Nipsey Hussle's rejection of Rick Ross's deal had way more weight than people knew. And right before his tragic end, he laid it all out. Nipsey wasn't just another rapper chasing fame. He was building an empire brick by brick on his own terms. That same independence that made him a legend. It also rattled the whole industry to its core. He straight up turned down Rick Ross and MMG when the offer was on the table. And whispers say that choice might have cost him everything. Nipsey wasn't out here begging labels for a golden ticket. He was hustling from scratch, flipping whatever he could just to fund the dream. The man even sold his Lincoln jewelry and walked away from the block just to buy his own studio gear. That's real sacrifice, something most rappers brag about but never touch in real life. Nipsey wasn't just rhyming about hustle, he was the hustle.
My goal was to create a situation where I could walk into one of these majors and operate as a partner.
Right.
And even since my early stuff, I never really was just an artist. I always bought my equipment. From day one, I sold my Lincoln, sold my Rolex, sold my jewelry, left my dope spot, turned it into a studio, bought equipment. My brother matched me, my homeboy bought my Lincoln from me, brought me a trash bag full of cash, bought my rims, my Alpinas.
From day one, Nipsey saw himself as way more than just a rapper. He carried himself like a CEO, a man who knew his value long before the world caught on. He built all money in with his own squad, grinding every step with blood, sweat, and sacrifice. Posters plastered on the streets, Nip came out of pocket for that. Radio spins, he and his crew paid for those slots themselves. He made it crystal clear, he wasn't begging for no handouts. Nip didn't want a record deal that made him feel like somebody's employee. He wanted real partnerships, where he could sit at the table and call shots as an equal. Anything less? Straight disrespect. In his own words, Nip said he had to raise his profile and stack his leverage until what he was asking for couldn't be denied.
I was a hustler. I wasn't thinking I was the executive. I was just like, if I want to rap, I need a studio, I need equipment, I gotta But we was making these moves already as a company or as an executive or as a label to facilitate me as an artist. So the money was coming from my brother, from myself. The decisions was coming from my team, myself. We was booking out the House of Blues. We was doing all the things that a label do. So once I got educated to the way that the deals get structured, it would be disrespectful for us to expect anything other than a partnership.
Labels like Def Jam, Capitol, even Atlantic at one point straight up overlooked him, acting like he wasn't worth the bet. But instead of folding, Nip doubled down on himself, stacking leverage until the same labels that passed had no choice but to bow their heads in respect.
We've been trying to land on the terms that we landed on for some years. It just was about me raising my leverage and my profile to where I could really justify what I was asking for.
Yeah.
I respect that. Like, if I come in here and make a request, it's like, you ain't worth that shit. You gotta go
gotta go get
it. It's possible, but you gotta work for
Sometimes
that.
you gotta show and tell people your worth too. Yeah, Atlantic Pack, they passed on you earlier, right?
Yeah. I said Drake passed, Def Jam, Capitol, Atlantic too. Thought that I'd be dead or doing life because what I rap is true.
That's a dangerous stance in this industry. The whole game runs on control. Labels don't want leaders, they want puppets. But Nipsey refused to play their script. He wasn't just trying to rap, he was rewriting the entire playbook. And in a business where independence looks like rebellion, Nipsey was already painting a target on his own back. Then Rick Ross came knocking with that Maybach Music Group offer. Most rappers would have jumped head first. MMG was blazing hot. Ross had the streets and the industry locked, and his cosign meant instant respect. But Nipsey wasn't like the rest. He sat down with Ross, had that real talk, and admitted straight up he respected Ross as a hustler. Nip said everything Ross promised, he delivered bar for bar. Whatever Ross spoke on a verse, Nipsey said Ross executed in real life.
You know what I'm saying? Everything he done said, he done done. Every combo we had, every time I sent a verse, he executed it. So I got a lot of respect for Rose. So I'd have done it off just GP.
Ross wasn't blind. He knew exactly what he was looking at. He saw Nipsey's value clear as day, without needing some watered-down radio hit. He recognized a street king in the making, which is why the deal looked perfect on paper. But Nipsey turned it down, not out of disrespect to Ross, but because his loyalty ran deeper than contracts. See, Nip had a squad that built him from the ground up, the same people who pushed his name when majors laughed in his face. He wasn't about to let a big label swoop in and steal the credit that belonged to his own people. In his own words, he said he didn't want to take that from my team. And that was the only reason he walked away from the MMG deal.
I was gonna do the deal. Was what when Ross put the MMG thing on the table. The terms and the way, you know, Ross set up the conversation to start in that building, it was a great opportunity. It was a great situation. I just had a concern with my team getting credit for breaking Nipsey Hussle. So I didn't necessarily want to take that from my team.
Damn.
I got a team I committed to ahead of time.
Damn.
And I needed to make sure they got the credit for what they did. You know what I mean?
Think about that. Most rappers would have signed the dotted line just for the chain, the press run, the shine of standing next to Ross. But Nipsey doubled down on independence, betting everything on his own squad. Instead of chasing industry validation, he chose loyalty over fame, principle over paper, and that made him one of the rarest breeds in the rap game. But let's be real, Ross didn't take that rejection lightly. Some say he felt straight up disrespected. Nipsey admired him, no doubt, but he wouldn't fold. And since Ross was tight with Diddy, folks claim the story didn't stop there, because once Puff got involved, the whole situation started turning messy. Word on the street? That rejection might have played a bigger role in what came next than people realized. And here's where it really twists, when Lauren London introduced Nipsey to Diddy. At first, everybody thought it was a blessing, Nip getting access to the same rooms as a mogul like Puff. But with time, the whispers changed. People started questioning if that moment was actually the beginning of the end. Jaguar Wright didn't sugarcoat it. She said it plain. Lauren introduced Nipsey to Diddy.
Hook up with the biggest rapper at the time. Everything's great. By the way, isn't she? Lauren is the one that introduced Nip to Diddy. Diddy couldn't even get to Nip, even though he had ties in L.A. It was Lauren that brought Nip to him.
And Nipsey himself confirmed it. Live on the Breakfast Club interview.
No, I'm saying Lauren introduced me to Puff.
Oh, got you.
I mean, I knew Puff, but it was more of a personal relationship after, you know, we was at Cassie's birthday.
So fans started firing off the tough questions. Was Lauren truly riding for Nipsey, or was she moving slick and playing both sides? The timeline started looking real suspicious. For one, she even admitted she went to a so-called death seminar before Nipsey was killed, like she was preparing herself for the loss before it even happened.
To a seminar about death.
Who were you there, and what did you learn?
I learned that no one really dies, and that, you know, it's just an experience in the physical form, and we're attached to our personalities, but that we're just souls and that we continue. And if you have a spiritual relationship with someone on earth, you will have one with them when you leave earth.
It was how long ago?
I had to be like 25.
Like you were preparing yourself for what you would have to deal with.
Well, I told you I didn't have such a connection to earth.
And when Nipsey passed, it was Puff who slid in to comfort Lauren, telling her, "Look, boo, you've shown everybody what it looks like to hold a man down and to love him. Now show them what it looks like when it all crumbles. That's your responsibility." Fans caught it instantly. Boo was the same nickname Nip used for her. That wasn't just odd, It came off straight up disrespectful. People started connecting the dots, wondering if Diddy had deeper ties with Lauren than anybody realized. Old pictures even resurfaced, showing Lauren and Diddy looking way too comfortable together, while Nipsey was right there in the background looking like the third wheel. And then there's Victory Lap, Nipsey's dream project, the album that made his legacy untouchable. Guess what? Diddy had his fingerprints on that too, helping behind the scenes with the rollout.
Had no ego. So, you know what I'm saying? Like Nip came to me and said, I want you to mentor me. You know, I want to get into real estate. I want you to teach me all your, you know what I mean, like your business secrets. You know what I'm saying? I was like, whenever you got questions, pull up. And then on his last album, people do not know this. Somebody tried to jerk me, but I fixed it. I actually am one of the executive producers of Nipsey Hussle's last album.
Victory Lap.
Yeah, Victory Lap.
But according to Gene Deal, Nipsey went to Diddy asking for guidance on shaping Victory Lap, the same way Biggie's life after death was molded. And that move, he claims, was a huge mistake.
You taking a spiritual person who's asking for something. He said, I wanted that same feel as life after death. That same feel was that Biggie got, and he went on to sell about 10 million albums or 10 million copies. I was saying, you gotta watch what you say to demons, because it just might come true.
Think about that. Biggie's classic dropped right after he was killed, and fans can't help but see the chilling parallel with Nipsey. They say that move gave Puff the perfect opening to sink his hooks in deep, pulling Nipsey closer into his orbit, having him around the mansion more than the actual studio. To a lot of people, that looked like the setup in motion. And here's where Ross creeps back into the picture. Remember, Ross and Puff were tight. So when Nip turned down that MMG deal, folks believe Ross never forgot. Mix that bruised ego with Puff's controlling ways and you've got a recipe for betrayal. Some believe Ross allegedly linked with Puff behind the scenes. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Nipsey was a rising threat. Too sharp, too independent, too revolutionary. He didn't need gatekeepers. He was building his own empire brick by brick, showing the hood you could own your masters, run your business, and still win. The industry don't want kings. They want pawns. And Nipsey? He wasn't moving like no pawn. So yeah, Eric Holder pulled the trigger, and he's doing 60 years. But plenty of folks believe he was just the fall guy, a piece on the board. The real chess players were in the shadows, pulling strings to make sure Nipsey never rose to that next level. But what do you think? Did Nipsey's loyalty and independence paint a target on his back? Was Lauren really playing both sides? And was Diddy pulling strings behind the scenes the whole time? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this story, and let's keep the convo going. And don't forget, hit that like, smash subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.